Hey guys, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to my channel. Today we're talking about films that I think are really scary for the spooky season. Halloween's coming up here very shortly, and I just thought I'd go through about 6 films that I think are really scary. Now these are more on the scary side. They're not, I would say, thrillers. They're more jump scares, and I feel they're really spooky. So let's go ahead and get started. The first one is The Orphan. This came out in 2009. It stars a little girl named Esther, and she gets adopted by this living family. However, she has a secret, and the more that she lives with the family, the scarier things get, because they also have 2 children of their own, so these kind of run rampant, and we're trying to figure out what Esther's secret is. I really like this film because I feel like the twist is really unique, and even though the trailer leaves a lot to be desired, don't watch the trailer. I feel like the trailer's really bad. But I feel like it's a really unique storyline, and I was very much intrigued the entire way through the movie. And there is a sequel. I haven't seen the sequel yet, but I feel like this is a really good option if you just want to be a little bit spooked by children, which is a very, common trope in scary movies, and I feel like this one definitely does it justice. Okay, the next one is called The Changeling. Now, this came out in 1980. I feel like this is really scary because I saw it when I was younger, and being a little body, I was just really terrified of everything that happened. I feel like it's really spooky in the way the music is played as well. Like, it's very shrieky and very, cacophonous, and I feel like they did a lot of work with the lighting and the camera work. There's a lot of shots with the camera running through the hallway and running up the stairs, so you feel like you're kind of like on a roller coaster and you're moving at this very, very fast speed. You can't control, you can't get off, and you're just kind of like forced to go through this house with this guy who moves in. And like I said, it's a haunted story, so it's a little boy who died in the house, and he's haunting this guy that just moved in, and it's this huge 3-story home, so the house alone is a character in itself. There's a lot of dark hallways, there's a lot of doors that are slamming, and there's a big piano, so I just feel like it's the typical quintessential haunting, but I feel like it's really scary because the camera is also very grainy, so there's naturally some spaces in the frame that you can't see that well, which makes it even more terrifying. And I feel like the acting is really well done because you're forced to do a lot with your face. Like, you have to show the terror, and you have to show that you're really afraid. And he stays in the house for probably a little bit way too long, but I just feel like it's a really good haunting story, and I still think about it to this day. Like, me and my sister still talk about it. I feel like I remember the music a lot, like I said, and it's just a very spooky, edge of your seat kind of movie. Next up, we have Saw. This came out in 2004, which is kind of crazy because it's been 10 years now, but I still think about this film constantly. I actually heard this is actually created by 2 film students who just wanted to challenge themselves to see if they could make a movie in one room, and they definitely succeeded at that. There's been a ton of sequels to this film. There's been a lot of different renditions of it, and we have the character named Jigsaw who puts his victims in one room with these different challenges to see if they really love their lives enough in order to push through and to get out of these very sticky situations. So there's a lot of betrayal between friends. There's a lot of people just, for example, who are addicts and find that they actually want to go on with their lives after these challenges that he gives them. So it's kind of like Stockholm Syndrome, but we also have gore, we also have thriller and mystery as well. So this film kind of has everything. And I'm not really a gore watcher. I would not say that's the typical films that I gravitate towards. So that in of itself makes this film really terrifying for me. And it's really difficult to watch these people think through and think about how much their lives are actually worth to them, what's actually worth risking, and there's also a time limit, of course, so you have not a lot of time to think about how you're going to get out of situations as well. And also throughout the film, we're trying to figure out who Jigsaw is, so that's the mystery element of this as well. And I just feel like this film, when it first came out, it was like one of those films where people just were rallying to get into the theaters to see it. It was very different at the time. Maybe not so much anymore, but it was definitely ahead of its time, and I feel like it's very unique in its perspective and the way that it makes you think about what is actually scary in life and how to actually think about what your life is worth. And I feel like that is a very interesting angle to go from when it comes to scary movies. And like I said, 10 years ago, it's still very prevalent, and I feel like it's a classic in a lot of ways, and I think it's definitely worth a watch. Next up we have Don't Breathe. This came out in 2016. It's about these three young adults who want to sneak to this guy's house, and he's blind, so they think it's going to be easy. They're going to sneak in, get all his money, and get out. Of course, it's never that easy. So he turns out to be like an ex-military guy, so his house is a fortress, and he knows how to protect himself. He knows exactly what he needs to do in order to keep intruders out, and they all sneak in. One of them dies. This is on the trailer, so no spoilers there. And the other two had to figure out how to get out of the house. And I love this movie because when I first watched it in theaters, I was definitely in a ball the entire time, trying to not breathe and figure out if they were actually going to get out of the situation. And we also find out a lot about the main guy on the way too. He has his own secrets that we are figuring out as well. So I feel like it's a thriller. It's also a lot of jump scares, but I feel like it really does a good job of bringing the tension between all these characters, and you're not really sure if they're going to make it out or not. And I feel like that's really what makes a really good scary movie, is questioning if that's going to happen or not, and having it not be very predictable. I feel like the premise is really good. Just the idea of someone who is blind using their other senses and trying to, you know, also protect themselves, but they're also, you know, telling you to not judge a book by its cover, because anything can happen, especially when you break into someone's house. And I feel like it's just a really good scary movie that keeps you on the edge of your seat. Next we have The Babadook. This came out in 2016. I actually did a review on it like a few years ago now, and I still think about it a lot. It's about a woman and her son. She recently lost her husband, which means he recently lost his father, and it's about them reading a bedtime story one night, and they sort of awaken the Babadook. And I feel like the story is really a lot about motherhood as well, and the turmoil of being a mother, being on your own, and having to raise a whole entire human being, and how that can mess with your psyche, and just how difficult that is in life in general. And I love this movie because I feel like it was super, super, super unique. I know this was a Kickstarter campaign actually started off with. The young director, her name is Jennifer, so she did the campaign, she got it made, and she even got to Sundance, which is like super impressive. I'm super happy for her about that. But yeah, if you want to go watch my review for that, you totally can. But I feel like the trailer actually does a really good job as well of showcasing this movie and really the uniqueness of it, and how scary it really is, and how unique it is. And so I feel like the trailer does the movie justice as well, but it leaves a lot out, so you can watch the film and still get a lot from it. And I feel like it's spooky in the way that it does the lighting as well. There's like a lot of dark shadows, but also you also see the mother quickly deteriorating, and how her body changes, and how her affect changes, and how she is with her son. So I feel like that downfall is really showcased throughout the film as well. And it's this very psychological thriller, but it's also like very jump scary. And yeah, I just feel like it's such a well done film. I don't really have that many notes on it, and I feel like it's definitely worth a watch for the spooky season. And the last one is called Gerald's Game. This is on Netflix. I think it's still on Netflix actually, but it came out in 2017. It's from a book written by Stephen King. It's about this couple that goes away to a lake house for a nice getaway weekend. They're having some intimate time, and the husband handcuffs her to the bed, and unfortunately he has a heart attack. And so she's handcuffed to this bed in the middle of nowhere, and she has to figure out how to get out. Now she also has to sort of peel back some layers of her life and think about her old trauma to figure out how to get herself out of the situation. And I feel like it's, you know, quintessential happening in one room. There's a time limit, she's trying to survive, and there's a lot of things that come up for her, like, and you don't know if they're real or if they're fake, so you're along with her for the ride trying to figure out what these things are, if she's going to be able to survive, and how she's going to get herself out of the situation. So she's like coming in and out of consciousness, and she's trying to figure out how to get water, like all these typical survival things. And I feel like this is a very edge of your seat kind of film, and I feel like it's very psychological in a lot of ways, but also she has to rely on a lot of things within herself in order to get herself through. So it's a lot about perseverance, just sheer will, basically trying to get her to the other side. I feel like it's really good to watch if you want to be spooked out, but you also might have some nightmares after. So I feel like it's the perfect sort of ending to this list. So that is my list for scary movies for Halloween. Thank you so much for watching, and have a happy spooky season. Bye!